So, BioWare, for instance, is a big one that's been brought up as like what's going to happen to them because there's a lot of discussions about how does sort of the Saudi investment fund specifically involve this because a lot of people bringing up sort of human rights records with Saudi Arabia and are we going to sort of with things like The Sims and with things like BioWare, there's a lot of LGBT representation and there's concerns that a lot of that's going to get stripped out. Um, but we don't know. And obviously the thing with BioWare is they spent ages developing Dragon Age Veilguard. It didn't sell that well. And I think there's going to be some discussions there, and there's a lot of thoughts that that's going to either get shut down or sold off if it's lucky. It's probably unlikely that's going to survive this.
Is it likely that they're going to pump the brakes on games that are in development? And how is that going to affect the games companies that are working under the EA umbrella?
Yeah, it depends really. I think like because of the size of this investment, and EA specifically has to pay back 20 billion of this. Um, so they are going to be like, there's going to be a lot of stuff that they're going to try and pump as much money as possible out of all of this. So there's probably going to be a lot more focus on those big hits, things like, the sports stuff. And if Battlefield does well, that's probably going to get just hammered with more monetization. There's been things about Apex Legends as well, and how they tried to put a lot of aggressive monetization into that, and that kind of backfired. So it's like, are they going to try and sneak some of that back in to try and make a lot of money off that? So there's a lot of discussion there in terms of they're probably going to double down on the big stuff and just start selling off bits that just aren't immediately making loads of money, which is why, again, BioWare being the big thing, I think there's obviously concerns around things like Need for Speed as well. Potentially that will get sold off or like, repurposed in some way. So there's a lot of discussion there.
I sort of tend to compare these things with the kind of film equivalents, and like the fuss everyone was kicking up when Disney bought Marvel and Star Wars for 4 billion each, which was also a staggering amount of money, but pales in comparison to 55 million.